so moving on, we are going to click on this data set over here, and this would open up another window. And as you can see, we have different options. We want to create a cloud-based Jupyter notebook. So for that, I'm simply going to click on this new button, new notebook option. It would open the Kaggle notebook editor in the new tab. Here you can see the interface. So let's first go through the interface one by one and see what kind of information that this interface is providing us before we jump in with the coding part. So starting off, you can see on your right hand side, you'll be able to see the data sets that you have imported. Now we can work on multiple data sets by simply clicking on this plus option, and then we can add different data sets. So for example, this is another data set which I maybe want to test my model on. So I can simply click on this plus button, and this would add the data set over here. So if I click cross, I can see that now I have these two data sets, right? Other than that, if I have my own images, so for example, I want to test the model that I have trained. So for that, I need to upload some images, right? So I can simply do that by clicking on this upload button, and then I can import a new data set or a new model depending upon what I'm creating. So we will be making a new data set, a new model as well in the future videos, just to show you how you can leverage these options. But for now, you can just simply, if I navigate down a bit, I can see that this is the output section, in which if I click on this drop down button, I'd be able to see all the outputs that I've created. So for example, if I've trained a model, it would be saved over here with an extension of .h5 if I have trained it using TensorFlow, and with .pth if I have trained the model using PyTorch. Other than that, if I have any output images or anything, it would be stored over here. So I can simply go ahead and download from this output option over here. Other than that, if I look on this side, on the left hand side, I can see these three options, these three sort of an icon like this. So what would happen is that when we are working, we would be able to see how much time it has been for the notebook that it has been running. So for example, the time that the notebook is taking to run would be displayed over here. Other than that, we can also save version of our notebook, which is very essential. So for example, if I want to use the model that I have generated, or if I'm preparing a data set or pre-processing it, and I want to use it in the future as well, I can simply click on the save version button. It would save my data, save my notebook. Along with that, it would also save the output of the model that I can use later on. Moving on, if we try to explore different other options, I can see that I have this settings tab. If I click on it, I have this accelerator option. This accelerator option provides us with the access of different GPUs that are available. So for example, I can leverage GPU T4 into 2 and perform parallel processing and utilize two GPUs at the same time. Other than that, I can also use these GPU P100. So one thing that needs to be remembered is that there are certain amount of hours for which you are allowed to use this GPU for a week. So for example, you would be provided with 30 hours per week, so in which you can utilize this GPU, and then after each week this would reset. So for each week you have a certain amount of hours for which you can utilize the GPU. Other than that, we also have this environment preferences option, in which if we are installing any library or anything, it would be pinned or saved in this original environment. So if we want to make sure that we use always, for example, we want to use a new environment for every experiment that we are doing, so we can select this option. But I'm going to stick with this one because most of the libraries that we use in different projects are the same, almost the same. So using a same environment makes sense. But if you want to change environment, you can definitely go ahead and do that. But one thing you might have noticed in accelerators is that here I do not have access to these GPU. Why? Because I haven't phone verified my account. So first of all, I need to complete the verification processes and all the steps so that I can access the accelerator, right? So I have already created a Kaggle account which has access to all these things. So I'm going to move to that account so that we can start working on this malarial classification. This is why you need to complete the registration so that you can leverage the GPU that it provides. You can also save the notebooks. You can see the progress of your notebook and everything. So okay, let me switch it to the other Kaggle account, and then I'll be back and we can start working with the malarial cell image classification. Okay, so now I have switched to a Kaggle account that has been completely verified. So I'm going to go through the steps once again and create the notebook. Okay, so this time we can also name our notebook. So I'm going to name it to Exploring Malaria, maybe. You can name your notebooks whatever you like, but you need to keep them as unique as possible so you can come back to them and then you can use them in the future. So now as you can see, we have this first cell over here, and once again going through in the settings option, if I go through the accelerator button, now you can see that I have access to this these GPUs and TPUs available. So if I click on one of them, I can see this message over here which shows that I have availability for up to 30 hours per week. This would reset each week. So right now I have 30 hours remaining. These 30 hours would start when we'll start running the notebook. These 30 hours would start. So depending upon your usage and how much time you're taking to train the model, these hours will be utilized. So for now, I'm not turning it on. Once we start with the malarial classification project, which would be in the next video, we'll turn on the GPU and then we'll start working. But for now, just for visualization purposes, if I turn it on, it would take some time. It would stop the current session. So you need to remember this as well, that if you're working on a current session, it would get lost because it would restart again to load the GPUs and everything. So now if I start the session again, it would again take a few seconds for us to load, and then we would be able to see the GPUs availability over here and then also the CPUs and everything. Other than that, this icon with the three boxes over here, if I click on it, I'll be able to see that my notebook is now running, and it would show me all the time that it is taken for this specific notebook to run. And here you can see all the information about the hard disk it is consuming, the CPU usage, RAM, and everything. So for example, if I click on it, I can see that right now it is not using any GPU or CPU or anything, but once we run our code, we would be able to see how much the percentage of the CPU or the GPU that is being used, depending upon your usage. Other than that, the option that I discussed with you earlier, which was of the save version, if I click on the save version button, I can name it whatever I want or keep it just version 1 and I can save it. What this would do is it would keep running your code even if you leave your desktop or your computer. It will keep on running this code on the background and it would complete execution, but you need to make sure that the code snippet that you are using is correct and there are no errors in it. If there are any errors, then the execution of this notebook would fail. And if there is no error, the execution would be successful and you will be able to access the outputs of this specific notebook. Other than that, one last option I'd like to show you is the share option. If I click on it, I can share this notebook with anyone privately, or I can even make it public and share with people if I want to make it public. So these are a few options that we can navigate through while working with the Kaggle notebooks. So in the next video, we are going to see how we can start working with the malarial classification problem on Kaggle using PyTorch. So I'll see you in the next one.